Any last community announcements? Okay, so with that, we'll get started with our first speaker, which is Krista Berry from She Goes High. Thank you.
I am representing Live Love Work today.
Oh, okay.
Because you know, like many of us, we wear so many hats, right?
So Live Love Work, which is your business,
Which is my business.
not your nonprofit, or is.
She goes,
I'm gonna stop all that. Krista Berry. I'm gonna recycle one of her old fun facts because I just know it. And
Oh.
It makes me laugh, but she can actually cover her sneezes with her lip.
I can plug my nose with my upper lip. Very helpful for swimming. So when I was a kid, you know, they would say like, wear nose plugs. And I was like, why? I can just do this. Same difference. Oh, everyone on Zoom didn't get to see that. Wait, I'll do it again. Am I on camera now? Am I on camera?
You have to turn and look at it.
Oh, okay. Plug my nose with my phone. And I do want to mention, just in case anyone's trying to look me up, that my name was spelled wrong on that first slide. So if you're trying to spell my name that way, you won't find me.
Sorry.
Just as a heads up, that's okay. I just didn't want anyone to be confused.
It's a different festival.
Yeah, I don't even know if that like shows up with anyone. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you. Excellent. So. But that's okay. We're just going to go ahead. So I'm here today to talk to you about mental health and entrepreneurship. And one of my motivations for being here is to help start breaking the stigma. Now, I was having this conversation before the pandemic in various circles, and there was some openness to it. But I have to say, since the pandemic, there's been a lot more openness to have this conversation around mental health in general, but specifically as it relates to entrepreneurs. I think some of the information I'm going to share is going to be pretty illuminating for all of us in this room. And so let's just talk bigger picture statistics. So according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI is what it's often referred to, 1 in 5 adults experiences mental illness. So in the general public, we're talking about 1 in 5 people that experiences a mental illness. However, those statistics are much, much higher for entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs are 50% more likely than the general public to report having a mental health condition. 50% more likely. So that's pretty surprising. I mean, is anyone else surprised by that? No, yeah, you're not. Why aren't you surprised by that? Tell me. We're all
entrepreneurs.
What was that? We're all mental.
Figure out if this is correlation or causation.
Correlation or causation. Yes, thank you, Leandra. I mean, sometimes, you know, this is not based on research. This is just my own speculation. But sometimes I feel like the reason that people with mental illness end up more likely to go into entrepreneurship is because it's really difficult to hold down a traditional job when you think differently and you function differently. I mean, we can do it, but it's a lot of work, can lead to burnout. And there's so much more flexibility and freedom that can happen with entrepreneurs. So, you know, that could be a reason that the numbers are so much higher, but I like to acknowledge this because I feel, especially as business leaders or like the face of your business, it can feel really vulnerable to be open about living with mental illness. And it can feel really scary. In fact, when my business was new, I was invited to speak about mental illness at an event called This Is My Brave in Denver. And my business coach at the time was like, do not do that. And she said, if you get up on stage and you admit that you have a mental illness, you're going to lose all credibility in your business. And no one's going to want to work with you. Now, this business coach that I worked with, she was right a lot of the time about a lot of the advice that she gave me. And so I really sat with what she told me, but ultimately it just didn't resonate with me. And I felt like this feels important. It feels important to get up and talk about these things. And so I did it anyway. If there was any negative impact to my business, I can't tell you, I didn't see it. If anyone decided not to work with me, because you can go out on YouTube and find videos of me talking about living with mental illness, then fine, those people didn't work with me, but I haven't actually noticed any negative impact. But it was because of that situation too, that I felt even more empowered to start talking about this more. Because it is so important and it feels so vulnerable when you're already owning a business and you are putting yourself out there all day, every day. And then the vulnerability increases when you live with mental illness, especially if you are vocal about it. So when you dive into the research even deeper, you can see these numbers here on the screen that when you're breaking down specific mental illnesses, it's pretty surprising, especially that last one, that entrepreneurs are 10 times more likely to suffer from bipolar disorder. Yeah, really interesting. But again, I think it speaks to the fact that in my guess is that, you know, if you live with bipolar disorder, it's really difficult to be successful in a traditional job. So if you struggle with mental health, you are normal. First of all, I just want to say that you're normal. We all have mental health. We don't necessarily all have mental illness. But if you struggle with your mental health, or you live with mental illness, or you've ever experienced a mental health crisis, and I like to make that differentiation between having a mental illness and having a mental health crisis, because you don't have to have mental illness or live with mental illness to have experienced a mental health crisis. It's something that many of us will go through at some point in time. And I just want to say we all have mental health. And because we all have mental health, we have all experienced at some point in time either mental illness or a mental health crisis. So let's talk some strategies for mental wellness. I could go so deep into this topic, but we don't have time for that today. But just some general things. First of all, connecting in with your business community. Don't isolate. When we are experiencing a mental health crisis or we live with mental illness, especially when it gets bad, the tendency is to isolate. And so please don't do that. Please connect in with your business community. 1 Million Cups is a great place to do that, as well as co-working spaces, other networking groups, right? Mastermind groups. Get connected. You don't have to be talking about your mental illness the whole time. The point is to not be alone. Connect in with your personal community as well. So friends and family, meetup groups, support groups. Please do that, as well as getting professional support from mental health professionals, trauma-informed coaches, or related service providers. And I do specifically call out trauma-informed coaches, even if you don't identify as having experienced trauma. I am a career coach, and I do want to say that I am aware within the coaching industry that there's a lot of individuals who are very well-meaning, but have not ever been trained or experienced to deal with people who might be experiencing a mental health crisis, and they could possibly give advice that is damaging. So, you know, if you are dealing with mental health crisis currently, or you live with mental illness and you're looking to work with a coach, even if it's around your business, I invite you to find someone who is trauma informed or has that experience so they can really support you fully in that. Okay. The most important thing is to talk about your mental health. There's a lot of spaces that you can do that, and they're opening up more and more. We do this. I do run a women's community, an introvert focused women's community called She Goes High. And we talk about mental health all the time there. And in fact, in our Facebook group, we have a regular Monday post, a mental health Monday, that gives an opportunity to check in and just recognize and acknowledge, this is where I'm at with my mental health today. This is how I'm feeling today, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. But however you do it, please talk about your mental health, because that isolation is really what kills. And I mean that in a very literal way. That isolation is incredibly dangerous. So please talk about it. Whoever you talk about it with, talk about it with someone. And so I'm going to wrap it up here. We'll have some time for some questions. Hopefully I've given you something to think about today and invited you to think more about how you show up as a business owner, how you show up as an entrepreneur with your mental health and what that looks like. In addition to that event that I had told you about a couple of years later, I wrote this book called Beautiful Badass, How to Believe in Yourself Against the Odds. And once again, when I wrote this book, this is not a business book. People like, how does this relate to your business? And I was like, it sort of doesn't. But it felt like stories that were important to share. Mental illness is one of the things that I wrote about in this book. And so again, I invite you to go past the business advice that you might be given, shut up about it, and talk about it. Questions, comments, thoughts?
I say thank you for doing this presentation about that. Appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, it's got a lot to think about.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you calling out that traditional coaching or business world will tell you to shut up. Or just shut it up. I remember going into my corporate and I think I need something. They're like, you ask for help for years. So thank you.
Yeah.
So the comment you made about, I wasn't sure if I heard right. The pandemic has opened people up to talk about mental health and mental illness. And do you see it closing down or do you see it opening up? Because I see things shifting, kind of, some people kind of wanting back to the way things were. Versus.
I don't think we can go back. I see it opening up more and more and more conversations about mental health in workplaces, in business. This is a trend that is not going away. It's just going to continue to keep opening up. I mean, the thing is that once people start speaking out, it's really that much harder to shut them up, right? And in fact, there's been some research that shows that event planners, mental health is one of the top 2 topics that's being requested for speakers this year. So we're going to see a lot more of this. I just got back in July. I went to Nashville to the National Speakers Association conference. And there was a mental health panel there, and there was some other mental health speakers in addition to me. This is one of the topics that I speak on regularly. And all of the mental health speakers who I interacted with at NSA conference were saying they are booked completely full. They're turning down speaking engagements. This is within corporate organizations, as well as at events and all kinds of things. So yeah, this is absolutely being, yeah, I don't think we're gonna go back. So that's great, great news. Any other comments or questions? Do we have any on Zoom?
I'm teaching entrepreneurship. You have some suggestions when I talk to my student. Mental wellness may be a challenge for entrepreneurs, but at the same time, I will not scare them away.
I have so many suggestions about that. In fact, I do whole presentations just on mental health as entrepreneurs or at work. I mean, it's a lot of different things. I think the talking about it is a simple and easy one though to start with, is that breaking that stigma and just talking about it. I mean, even in this room today, people have shared that they have experienced a mental health crisis or live with mental illness. And so already we have connecting points within this room. And so somebody who didn't feel comfortable speaking up might now feel comfortable reaching out to one of those people who said, yes, that's me too. Yeah, thank you. Or at least they feel like this conversation is more normalized. So I think, just talking about it in any capacity is super, super a good first step. It's super helpful.
One comment and one feedback from the presentation. Comment would be, I think well, the pandemic, I think messed everybody's head for one, but there's been a big shift too over time with everything from the Me Too movement to just, I mean, as negative as social media can be, there's been this sort of acceptance of vulnerability. So I can see playing off that as this another ability to, I don't want to say it's like but like it's more accepted to just be vulnerable. And the only feedback on the presentation is you left me wondering what the call to action is. Like, what could I do? I obviously this resonated with me. What next?
Yeah. Thanks for the feedback. I mean, hopefully what my call to action was intended to be was to start talking about it. Talk about it. I hope.
I appreciate you bringing this to the group today, and I think there's a lot more conversations and a lot I know we would love to do with you. I just want to put that out there. I also just want you to know there are a lot of groups in our greater community at a county level and city level talking about this at board meetings and how important it is for our small business owners. And on that board, there's at least 10 small businesses represented, and some of the feedback they gave is, we're so overwhelmed, we're so short-staffed, we don't want to open that can of worms, I quote. We don't want to open that can of worms. And I was like, well, it's not about people like dumping out their therapy in the workplace or
Right,
their
right.
customers, it's about the talking about it, letting them know about their resources, all this stuff that you do. And so I feel like there's an opportunity with small business owners that are so just still trying to figure out if they're gonna make it. That you can have it as part of your culture, and it's more like, we have all these things, that's part of the benefits here. You know, but it's not about dumping all your, right? So there's just a lot of, it's just a long way of saying, there is a greater community awareness, it is more acceptable, and there's a lot of opportunity.
I'm still trying to figure out if my business is gonna make it. Since COVID. Right? Yeah, I mean, I've been in business for 7 years in October, and I'm still like, right, it was a rough couple of years for me, and it's like, I'm still here, and some days I'm like, and then some days I'm like, but really, am I gonna make it past 2022? I don't know, I guess we'll see. So yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that out loud as well, and yes, thank you, and I've done several talks on mental health for managers of teams, because managers of teams and business owners have, in some cases, come to me and said, how do I support my team better? How do I support my staff better? I've talked with some people who've had some really rough stories to share about their individuals on their team completing suicide and having all kinds of things going on. And in every one of these individual conversations, what I've come to is it starts with you. And if you want to support your team, you have to make sure you're managing your own mental wellness first and foremost. And so all the talks that I've given to business owners and to leaders and managers specifically around how do I support my team, is I'm like, you start here, let's have that conversation first. And then we can talk about how to support your team. But first of all, you need to be okay in order to support anyone else. Yeah, it's like putting your mask on, your oxygen mask on first. But also it's deeper than that. It's about you leading by example too, because if you're not taking care of yourself, even if you're giving your team the good advice and support, yeah, it'll catch up. And you know, let's face it, in an organization, the culture speaks louder than the words. And if the leaders at the top are not walking their talk, then the people underneath feel like, well, they say that, but it's not really okay for me to do that.
I want time to do my presentation.
It is 9.
I mean, I just took an hour rather than talking, I know, we're scratching the surface.
I know, I just now realized the awkwardness of me leaving the group of what, hey, could you wrap it up? Because
It's my turn.
it's night.
All right, can we wrap it up? It's leading.
Yeah.
If somebody else would do it, I'm like, no, it's fine, until I was like, oh, now I see why this is awkward. Okay, but thank you so
Yeah.
much, Tristan. And I believe you're probably gonna be a Sounded and FOCO speaker
I assume so.
on this topic, so if people want more, they can.
Yes, we will be having a brain crawl event at Founded in FOCO, so it's going to be a special event within the event, and it's all about mental wellness, neurodivergency, all kinds of things like that. And I'm also a speaker.
Share your screen.
Yes. And I am also a speaker at the Northern Colorado Women's Small Business Conference that's happening on October 15th. Not on this topic, but I'm speaking. So.
All right, go ahead and grab your.
Thanks.
Literal yelling.
Literal, like, but y'all are this quiet, I won't yell. Yeah, there's a self, note, you know, in your.
When I go to she goes hi, it's like, yeah, when I'm also presenting, like, yeah, it's an awkward thing.
It is a little bit,
Can I do a
Our
quick
next-
public service announcement?
yes.
I sound like I'm dying. I'm okay. Last week I was really sick. I did
With
COVID,
COVID, right,
I
right,
got
COVID.
tested. I didn't get anything. I can't get rid of this cough. Don't worry. I'm okay. You're okay.
We're all okay.
But I'm gonna sound like I'm dying. if you-
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you got my timer going? So I scheduled this back in like June, not realizing it's gonna be the day before my big thing, because I didn't have a big thing scheduled then, so this is not what I was intending to talk about, but tomorrow. Actually, no. it's not. So what's your next step? So the feedback that I'm looking for is, does a 90-minute masterclass on this seem valuable? At this point, it doesn't matter, it's happening tomorrow. Who do you know who could use this information in their business, and how and where can I spread the word even more in the next less than 24 hours? Yes. So I made this last. So the problem is, this is the mental illness causing bubble right here, is that as entrepreneurs, we have so many things that we have to deal with, that how do you decide which thing to focus on first? The problem is when you prioritize everything, you prioritize nothing. So the solution was that Mike McAllowitz wrote his most, I think it's his most recent book, Fix This Next, where he says, how do you choose what to prioritize? So his idea here is that just like Maslow's hierarchy of needs for those in the woo industry, like myself, the chakra system, that there's a hierarchy of needs that we have to fulfill in our own personal lives. And that there are more important things and less important things. So you could be sitting there meditating, self-actualizing, when all of a sudden you start choking and can't breathe, you'll immediately go back to physiological, because you have to maintain your survival to self-actualize. So same idea with your, oh, I like this quote. As a human being, stomach empty, just have one problem, food. The moment stomach is full, you have 100 problems. Okay, so this is true in your business too. Like, your stomach is empty if you don't have sales, right? This is the equivalent lifeblood of your business, is you have to have sales. Without sales, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. Then from there, you can move up. But he's broken this out into the get levels and the give levels. Many coaches, helpers, and healers start their business based on impact, but again, it is a hobby without sales. So this is the idea of his hierarchy of needs. And you're never in it. This is not a linear path. Like I said, you could be self-actualizing, you start choking, you immediately drop back down. So there's no good or bad, right or wrong place to be on this level or on this high pyramid. Each of the levels has 5 core needs that have to be met in order for you to move up the next level. So how does this actually work? Well, let me use myself as a case study. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a former pension actuary. I have a master's degree in finance. I've taught finance to hundreds of university students. And so now I coach finance and profitability. So my course, Double Your Profits in 30 Days, teaches all of these things, profitability and the lifestyle growth, like how much money does your business need to make so that you can afford to stay in business. And so I'm really good at these things. However, this is what one of my classes looks like. There are like 4 of us. There's actually 1 person missing, but I do want you to notice that they're all smiling while we're talking about it. So these are the things that I'm doing well. These are the things I'm not doing well in my business. Okay, the first thing that you have to focus on is the lowest level, which for me is prospect attraction, right? However, as Jane Austen says in Pride and Prejudice, a lady's imagination is very rapid. It jumps from admiration to love, from love to matrimony in a moment. I don't know if it's just because I'm a lady or all business owners do this, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I do prospect attraction, this is what's gonna happen, and I am not ready for that. So then I start solving a problem that I don't have, and I'm thinking, but I need more coaches, and so I literally, instead of prospect attracting, started reaching out to other coaches who could help these new clients that I'm about to have if I start marketing. And I reach out to a VA and say, hey, what kind of things do you do for our financial coach? And I start solving problems that I don't have. Because I think if I solve the problem I do have, this is what's gonna happen. So again, these things need to go away and focus solely on the lowest level. Let's solve the problem that we have today, not the problem we think we're going to have tomorrow. So with this came, what's your next step, which is a choose your own adventure business masterclass, which is happening tomorrow morning online. Bring your own beer. It is at 10 a.m. Mimosas might be more appropriate. So the first part, I will go into more depth to help you find your next step, or whomever find their next step. And then they'll select their adventure guide based on the steps. So you discover your first step, then you go into a breakout room with the expert who can give you tips on that next step. And then discover your first business treasure, right? So I'm really good at that. I don't know what this slide's about. I think that check box wasn't supposed to be there. Oh, so I think that checkbox wasn't supposed to be there. But prospect attraction, this was my way of solving my prospect attraction issue, was to have this big group where everybody was marketing together. And I dare say, this is the best sign up I've ever had. As of this morning, we had 58 signups, which I'm super excited. Oh, and sometimes when you solve the lowest problem, you end up solving a higher problem, which in this case, I have a complementary network where we all serve a similar group and we are helping our clients have better results by working together, right? So this actually checked 2 boxes at the same time. So to wrap it up, I will worry about my needs for order when this problem actually occurs. All right, that's it. How am I talking?
7 minutes.
No! I had it under 6 last week. And then Nick
It was
showed up.
those slides that threw you for a loop.
Yep.
The extra check mark.
Yeah, the extra check mark. Well, and
Like 13 seconds.
yeah. I know. So there's my request for feedback. Really, at this point, it is. Let's not be here. See, this is why it's awkward.
Any questions? Any questions?
Thanks, Peter.
Eric, you always have good.
Thank you.
I thought the presentation flow was fantastic. I loved where you pulled in the introduction about you. Instead of right at the beginning, it was like, here's what I'm working on. Oh, by the way, here's me, because I'm about to tell you a story about my business. So that was perfect. The quote, the phrase, solve the problem you have today, not the one you think you'll have tomorrow, hugely impactful. So thank you for that one.
Are all the things in that checklist coming from that book that you?
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff on there, like just as a language person, I have no idea what most of those things mean.
You would need to read the book or come tomorrow.
I would happily come tomorrow. I will be serving enough my clients tomorrow. And can't attend. So like this seems useful, but because I haven't read the book, when I'm looking at it, it doesn't have a lot of meaning for me. So I don't know if there's like, if you could adapt the checklist for your presentation.
I'm not giving
or-
this.
But just when
Tomorrow.
you're talking about this stuff, right, if I haven't read the book, then I don't know what those things.
Right, and that's the 45 minutes tomorrow.
At what point can you read the first 5 and you get those, but then you get stuck on the next 5? Maybe that's just level you work on.
Be like,
regarding. This I work for is kind of struggling, so one thing to you, where we're like, we wanna attract, new clients. But I'm not sure if we have the workforce for it, we can hire the workforce, which we need clients, and then the part that.
Yes, it feels like one of those things, like it's really scary to start marketing and then thinking that you're not gonna be able to deliver on your commitments. Because you don't have the workforce.
Don't confuse sales with delivery.
So it's always during the time for sale, we
Yeah.
figure it out.
I think you've got a presentation.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you made it, you told a story that was personal, that brought, at least brought me, okay, now I can visualize the problem you had. This was scary to have a full house. And I could relate to that. Now, how did I address that? It's not a problem, so, no,
I'm not addressing that problem because it doesn't exist right now.
but I've made it up. Y'all did.
Yes.
This gets us to the other earlier presentation.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
It's all problems that exist.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's the whole correlation causation.
Oh, I said.
Oh.
Krista.
Yeah, so you asked where you could share this. You're not, and she goes, my impact members, you can't share it in her group, but Amanda or Karen can share it in the impact member group.
Okay.
So tell them
I will.
to share it in there.
We can end early today because we're 5 minutes ahead.
All this time.
I know. Well, so again, this is not what I thought I was presenting on when I scheduled this. But because tomorrow's the presentation, it's all I have time to work on. So that's okay.
For the benefit of.
I hope that we get the turnout. So that's the other thing is you get your signups and you have show ups.
Yeah.
So
Is it free?
it is free, but it'll be more than 4 people. I hope it will be more than 4 people.
Yeah, and I would just like to offer that I've seen this being promoted, because I know all those people.
You
Know and love.
You've
all-
probably gotten the same email. a whole-
I know and love all these people, and I have to say, I haven't understood what it's about, what it would help me with, if it's for me, or any of those things, so if you're still looking for last minute signups and or to get people there tomorrow, you might do one last push that is different than the marketing you've done up to this point. Because like I said, I've seen this multiple times and I've just been like, I don't understand what this is. I have no idea if it's for me. I have no idea what my time would be spent doing or how it could benefit me, problem itself.
Do a video of this.
Yeah,
Why not?
but if there's anyone even that signed up that isn't quite sure, I think like sending one last blast out, saying like, here's one tangible thing you can get out of it, or here's why you need to show up tomorrow, or like, here's specifically who this for, I think can also help support the like people actually showing up.
Are you clear after seeing this?
Yeah,
So what's
Mostly.
what's the one takeaway that you think you would get from?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I clearly got it will tell you what the next thing you need to focus on in your business is. But why do I care about that? So what problem is that solving for me? I'm still not 100% clear on. I mean, I can extrapolate because I do, I have a very strategic business mind, so I can extrapolate what that means. But I have to say, it still isn't 100% clear to me, like why this is an urgent problem that I need to address. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Can you name that for me then? Because to me, like, it's the whole like. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because you don't know what their problem is.
Peter, Mike.
No, what I would be confused about is, are you gonna just tell me what the 5 things are, or are you gonna help me figure out what thing
We're
is?
gonna go through the thing so that by the end, you know what your unchecked box is.
So then,
To focus on first.
the way you promote it, is I ask you a question. So for you solving the problem you don't have.
Yeah, I like that.
And that way,
I think I wrote that one first, like to solve the problem that you have today and not tomorrow, and I got feedback that it was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Too many words. That's one.
Word master.
Well, I have a song to add.
A song.
A song.
Not everyone.
I'm not gonna sing it. All I keep hearing in my head is, I got 99 problems, but I save one. Right? So like, if you put up, like, here are all the things you're supposed to be doing in your business. You have all these problems, but we're gonna fix this.
Yes, that,
We're gonna fix only the one that matters.
yes, yes.
Next one.
Your business has 99 problems, but you're focused on ain't it. Come to this masterclass and we're gonna help guide you to the one.
Write that, you know?
Okay.
Okay, last one. Yeah, wait, no, wait.
I was gonna say, I've seen the promotions of it, and then I've seen the little clips of the interviews and what they're doing, which I think is really nice. Kind of drawing me in, and different speakers can talk about what you're going to do, so that's great. I didn't realize it was free, but I did understand that it was presenting a portfolio of coaches, so that based on my needs, I would have a sample of what they do and they would.
Except you won't, you have to choose your guy.
Right, but this gave me the, but the little clips are showing me.
Oh, the
different-
samples of
The
it.
samples, right,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
that it kind of can speak, like an interview, mini interviews,
Like, do I actually want to spend 90 minutes going to this thing to hear that person?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's helpful.
Yeah.
Those were
Yeah,
good.
that's good to know. I don't watch videos, so I had not, I've seen them, but I haven't watched them because I don't watch videos, so that's helpful.
Yeah,
That took me a little deep.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, because prospect attraction, this isn't a one and done thing. This was, you know, my first big attempt at doing it for real.
You're chicken and fried.
I am certain that. And 56 people saw enough value that I got down to each them, would like to see the value to show up. So thanks for the 99. Oh, yes,
I like your example, how you make possibles here. I'm assuming you're watching the platform and information, Naruto. Never mind.
but thank you,
Very good.
thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Oh.
Can you turn up your share?
Yes, so who has a win? Who needs help? Who has resources?
We have 50 users on me. And today we're having a 10:30 people that want to learn a little bit more about how to create your profile, to be more impactful, how to create your business. If you don't know how to do that, and post a resource for a calendar event. At 10:30 today, I'll be talking. They're gonna run a little workshop for an hour. So I wanted to do it. So we're gonna actually be over in the
BP 142 right over.
over
Oh,
here.
this is a live thing?
Well, it's not really live. It's not, we're all gonna be on Zoom.
Oh.
It's gonna stay in the thing, but we won't be live. But if you forgot, you didn't have time to get home, which we probably do, running your computer so you can actually do it. You come and join us at 10:30.
So we're done talking.
Exactly.
We'll
So
just
we're running-
Pretend like we're not live at all.
Exactly.
John.
I got 100 downloads on Hidden Link.
I have 56 signups for my. first-
Speaking of the wellness, from this morning, we have a new class by Julie Gold, coming up, I think it's September 13th, it's on our flyer. It is a well-being business owner class, it's a new one we're doing for the first time, there's activities, no PowerPoint, so come join us for that, I think that's September 15th.
I did a presentation with a slide deck.
Yes. you did.
Don't ever really do that, and then do it, and I wasn't gonna do it for this, and then now it was like. And I was like, "Ugh."
And you did it. And you seem to get less nervous every time.
Yeah, that's been.
Yeah.
But that one was almost like there was no slide deck.
Yeah. I had-
honestly wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had fun with the slide deck, that helps. But, yeah, and I didn't practice it at all, I didn't time it, I just was like, whatever, we'll see what happens. Yeah, and just show up and.
I have a win, my kids are back in school.
Still trying to figure out the kids' schedule of being back at school. My kids are home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But I have 2 more hours worth of work to do,
You have a large outdoor space.
but not, but not children who want to take themselves instead of large outdoors.
In my neighborhood, parents lock the kids outside. And then they come over to my house.
House is fun.
Oh, class started on Monday. I survived, my students survived.
Also, help, I'm exploring, starting the Jobby, site, paid for a program thing. So if anyone's ever built Jobby sites or have experience designing that program, I'd love to chat with you. I know a few people who've done that. So,
Anybody know where Rory Sharp?
Really sharp.
She was loco think.
HAAR.
There's an AA, I don't know if it's in there.
That's
But she used to be loco think tanks.
oh, yeah, okay, I know who you're talking.
She did all this stuff,
Yeah,
but she said,
and they're just shifting off of Kajabi now to WordPress, so.
Oh,
Agenda is working on all that process. So, that's
cool, thanks.
it's expensive.
It's been a web club.
Oh, yeah, there's something else.
Easy.
Well, I don't need it for the website.
I used to think,
Good job, Jeff Schuster.
Jeff Schuster, is there anything online? Comments?
No.
Thing online. The whole thing. There's a lot of stuff.
Gotta be careful when you go with this.
I got like, as far as like, it's just like on the screen up there, it says there's 7,
Oh.
so I didn't know if you'd like,
Nope,
Check
that's
some.
all.
but I see that's on the other.
so last thing, again, we're here for 2 more weeks. If you want to do a presentation, it looks like we have some September openings.
You-
Perfect. I have a post. Yes, you do.
And if you want to get on the list further out, you can always put yourself further out too.
Sometimes,
Email.
and sometimes practicing the pitch.
Yeah.
Just like-
Yeah, exactly.
I tell you though, once you do it once, I'm just gonna worry about once you do it once. They'll
You
keep
can
reaching
figure
out
out
to you and
when.
being like, isn't it time for you to come back? And you're like, yes.
Well,
Well,
that's
that's something together.
that, I booked this date because I was gonna give my 1-year update from what I brought as an idea last year and say this is how it actually went, but this was better. Thanks. Right?
Sounds like you're doing well.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you.